Hey everyone, it's Derek with the Board Game Spotlight. Welcome back to the table. Today we're looking at Mystery of the Temples. Now this was originally published by Emperor S4. It is now on Kickstarter from Deepwater Games. It is a game for 2 to 4 curse breakers and it plays in about 30 minutes. So let's take it to the table and I'll tell you about it. So today I have set up for a 4-player game. And in Mystery of the Temples, players are going to play as curse breakers, and they are going to attempt to break the curses of the temples. Now, a player will break a curse at a temple by expending a certain sequence of gems from their grid square in order to meet the conditions of a temple. So let's talk about how a player can do that. So on a player's turn, you have 2 actions to take. You have movement actions, and then you have an action from a wilderness card or a temple. So you have 3 movement spaces you can move. So between wilderness and temple cards, you could move, this player could go 1, 2, 3, or he could move onto a temple and go 1, 2, 3. Now it's important to note that if a player is on a wilderness or temple card, you must skip them. So if a player was on this wilderness card, you would actually skip it and go 1, 2, it would skip this player and he could move all the way up to this wilderness card. But in this instance, we'll just go 2 spaces to collect 3 gems. Now when you collect gems, you're going to program them into your grid square, and it does matter where they go, but you do not have to place them adjacent to anything previously played into your grid. So depending on where they're located, you won't be able to necessarily move them around very easily. So after that, we could also move, and in this instance, we want to get a yellow, so we can move onto the yellow temple. Now, when you move onto a temple, you have 2 choices to make. You can either take the crystal gem from that temple, or you can choose to break the curse. In this instance, we would need a yellow, so we'll grab a yellow gem, and this will finish the sequence here that we need to break. So yellow, yellow, red, purple, purple. So we would need to go around the board and get back to this temple in order to break that curse. So let's say we go ahead and did that. We got back to this temple and we want to go ahead and expend these gems. So we would pay the cost and we would take one of our curse breaker tokens and we would place it on the 8 because we went all the way up the left side 5 spaces. So you can either pay 3 to 5, and depending on where you stop is where you'll place your token. When you defeat a curse, you actually gain a rune card from that temple. Now these rune cards are going to augment and they are going to allow you to more efficiently gain cards. So when we stop at a temple or a wilderness card with this same rune symbol, so if we were to stop at the ancient tree or we were to stop on this wilderness card, in addition to the action of collecting gems there, we would cause a rune resonance and we would also get a red crystal. So that is a way to gain crystals much quicker. And so you can have any number of runes, and there is set collection aspect. So if you collect 1 of each of the rune symbols, you'll score points at the end of the game for doing so. Additionally, there are other wilderness cards. So on this one, if you stop here, you place 2 crystal gems, 2 colorless, and you pick up whichever you choose. So we could take a blue and a red. And again, we could start sequencing that program in our grid in order to meet the requirements of a curse that we wanted to break. The game ends when a player completes 5 curses, so they place 5 of their curse breaker tokens, and then you'll finish out the round. So in the game, there is an advanced play mode where each of these grids has an asymmetric ability that players can utilize. In the basic game, you just play with your grid in order to place gems. But again, there is a lot of options for players depending on which grid that they draft and which power they want to use. Now, when we go to in-game scoring, you'll choose at the beginning of the game 3 temple cards, and you always play with the rune collection card. So depending on how many rune type you've collected, you'll score that many victory points. Additionally, there is a little bit of area control, and the fact that the player who has the most curse breaker tokens on this specific temple, so we have these 3 temples out in the game, they will score 4 points. So this would be 4 if we had the most there. Second most, we get 2. And so you'll score points for your objectives, you'll score points for collecting runes, and you will also score the points of whichever curse you chose to break at the various temples. And you will move up a certain number of points inside the score tracker, and whoever has the most victory points is declared the winner. This is on Kickstarter right now, so if you're interested, take a look at the description below for a link to the Kickstarter campaign. This has been Derek with the Board Game Spotlight, and this has been your overview of Mystery of the Temples.